worse outcomes. We can do better. We should reject this and start over.
Thank you, Representative Knudsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I support this motion. I think that this plan to reform Medicaid protects taxpayers. I think this plan to reform Medicaid actually strengthens our safety net in Wisconsin. And, you know, I just have to stop and say, Fiscal Bureau, you were just asked a question. And so I was writing it down because he phrased it in a certain way and said it over and over again. But one of the questions was, what was the total cost of taxpayers in the previous motion, total cost of taxpayers in this one? And again, what was the total cost of taxpayers and so on? So the Fed money that comes, my understanding would be the Fed money is taxpayer money, right? So can you go back and answer that question again exactly the way that he asked it? What was the total cost of taxpayers in the previous motion and the total cost of taxpayers in this motion? Because I think Chairman Nygren earlier said that when he's in his district, he gets the same kind of response that I get in my district. People are smarter than that. They realize that taxpayer dollars aren't just state taxpayer dollars. It's federal money comes from taxpayers as well. So, I mean, as I look at the bottom for the first fiscal year, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the previous motion, in the first fiscal year, their plan spent $175 million of federal money. Ours spends $45 million, is that right?
That's right.
And then in the second fiscal year of this coming biennium, our plan would spend $76 million, almost $77 million of federal money, and their plan would spend $444 million.
That's correct.
So what's the total cost of taxpayers, just the way he asked it, of the two different plans?
If we were to use the all funds number rather than the GPR number that I previously identified, the total 1315 all funds change to bill amount under the current motion is $206.7 million, whereas the all funds change to bill under the previous motion would be about $578.6 million. And again, that's primarily because of the large federal increase, about $619 million that would be provided in the biennium under the previous motion.
So we've got about $500 million difference. So when you want to talk about who's protecting taxpayers here, it was pretty clearly that this motion protects taxpayers. I have listened now, I heard Senator Schilling earlier, and everyone's got a story about some patient or one of their constituents who they're concerned about how this plan and how Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act is going to affect them. And we're sensitive to that. In fact, we want to make things better. I listened to the outburst, yeah, I see it there right now, and I was just going to say there was a gentleman here earlier who stood up and exclaimed that he'd been on a waiting list, and he deserved to have coverage. Well, that's what this is all about. There will be no more waiting lists. There will be no one who doesn't have access to health insurance under this motion. I can't look into his pocketbook or possibly know what his income level is, but it's entirely possible that he's going to have much better options than he would have had even if he'd have finally gone from number 17 on the waiting list to the day that he would have gotten Badger Care under the Democrats' plan that they put in before. And Senator Schilling, you know, you talked about someone who's making $350 a week. So that's $18,000 a year. Wouldn't fall into the income range that we're discussing here. I mean, someone who's over 133% is going to be on the exchange under Obamacare, under anyone's plan, your plan or our plan. And they're going to have new options, probably better options than what they had in the past, and no one's going to take that away. One of the things that I see as a difference between the way that Democrats seem to view the world and the way that I think maybe our party does is that we see people going through their life, and you're not stuck in a certain income. hopefully, you're climbing. You're going through your career, you're getting a raise here and there. Yes, this actually happens in the real world. Not everybody starts making, $7.50 an hour or $7.25 an hour and stays there. They're actually going to get a raise, they're gonna improve their job skills, and they're gonna start to make more money. And as that happens, inevitably, they're gonna get to a threshold point, whether it's under our plan that says, hey, for the first time ever in Wisconsin, if you're poor, as defined, your income's under the poverty level, then you're gonna have Medicaid. First time ever. But if you're not, and you're making more than that, then there are options for you under the Affordable Care Act's exchanges. And no, Representative Mason said that we're essentially opting out of Obamacare. Absolutely not. This is not some construct of the Supreme Court last summer. Absolutely not. When Obamacare was voted on in Congress from the very beginning, from day one, it always had this provision for exchange-based coverage starting at 100%. It always had the provision for the premium subsidy to be the strongest, to be the most generous for those people that had the lowest incomes, and yes, it always included 100 to 133%. It also always had the option that you could choose to expand your Medicaid package to cover those people. We're not creating something out of whole cloth, and neither did the Supreme Court. This was always part of Congress's plan in doing this. And we think that people are gonna move their way through. So if you were a single person, you're making minimum wage, you're working 30 hours a week, you're gonna still have Medicaid eligibility, because at that income level, you'll have Medicare. If you start to work full-time, you're gonna be in with the whole rest of working adults in Wisconsin, where you're gonna be on exchange-based coverage. Sliding scale, starts very affordable. I mean, the premium cost is $6 a week for those people in that lowest bracket. That's something that people can afford. And to say, as I heard earlier, that, well, it could be a max of $2,000. If you had a family or a couple, it could be $4,000. True. But to say that that will be every year, not likely, not for very many people. Because to get to that, you will have had to have gone to the doctor or the hospital enough to have received probably around $25,000 to $30,000 worth of care. Something that most people in this income level that we're under discussion here right now is not happening that often. And if it did, they might slide down the income scale and again be eligible for Medicaid because they've had trouble. Yeah, you